Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where again today we are talking about Leeds. Are you guys bored of it yet? Because I know I certainly am. However, if Manchester United are going to win 2-0, they can keep playing Leeds all they want. So that is what we are discussing today. So before we actually get into that, I just quickly want to talk about the OneFootball app and some of the brilliant features that they have to offer. So let me just list through a few of them real quick. We've got player news, team news, player statistics, transfer news, league tables, match fixtures, just to name a few really good features which you can get on the OneFootball app. I use them all every week, but then of course, my favourite, highlights for the Serie A, and also a game which you can watch live for free on the app every single week. This week it is Inter against Udinese, which is another big game in Serie A which you can watch with a touch of a button on the app at literally zero cost. You really would be daft not to. If you want to check it out, then make sure to use the link in the description down below and download the OneFootball app today. So of course Manchester United and Leeds played each other in midweek and things didn't quite go Manchester United's way in a 2-2 draw. So unsurprisingly Ten Hag made changes, however perhaps the changes that he actually made themselves were a little bit surprising. We saw Luke Shaw move to centre back with Tyrell Malacia coming in at left back, Harry Maguire also coming into the team at centre back, and Jadon Sancho coming into the team on the right wing. And of course the response to this team was very interesting online on social media, on Twitter in particular. People weren't too pleased with the starting 11, however once again Ten Hag was proven right. However, I do have to admit, I was a little bit confused by the starting 11. And I weren't hating on it, I was just questioning maybe the decisions behind it. However, before kick-off, the conclusion I kind of came to was, I think Ten Hag wants minutes in Malacia's legs ahead of the Barcelona game. He wanted Luke Shaw to play centre-back before the Barcelona game. And also he wanted to rest Rafael Varane, but also get Harry Maguire's ball-playing abilities on the pitch for this particular match. So I think those were the reasons behind those decisions, and let's kind of look at how that played out. So despite starting the match with a back four, Manchester United very quickly built possession in a back three, with Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire and Dalot being the back three, Tyrell Malacia and Sabitzer then forming a double pivot. Although at times it could be someone like Fred with Sabitzer pushing higher, it could rotate. However, Sabitzer and Malacia was probably the most common duo in this area, and then a four shape and then this one up front in Wout Weghorst. And to be honest, I don't actually agree with this build-up shape. I've done a preview talking about how I would have approached the game, and the reason I wouldn't have used this shape was because it allowed Leeds to play very, very narrow. And what they done was once again used a very narrow front three, and again they had the same trigger of Gnonto, thank you for the correction of the pronunciation in the comments, using Dalot as the trigger to push up on him, Harrison onto Maguire, Bamford on Shaw, and then a narrow three in the midfield. And again, it's created the same problem for Manchester United that they had in the first game in midweek, that they can't progress the ball forward because the back three are so tightly marked. So even if, say, Maguire did initially have time, but then as soon as the ball goes anywhere else, whether it's into Sabitzer here, he's then got Adams crowding him out, he's got Harrison crowding him out, or the ball might go to Shaw. This is then the trigger for Bamford to come out, or the other side, Dalot is the trigger for Gnonto to come out. And of course, as a result, it makes it really difficult for Manchester United to build any sort of possession. Now, despite this, there were still a few kind of passages of progress where it looked like Manchester United might have some success. One of those was by passing to Jadon Sancho on the right wing, because Firpo looked absolutely terrified of Sancho every time he got the ball. This did not look like a battle which Firpo particularly wanted to participate in, knowing that Sancho has that ability, those quick feet to go past him. However, in the middle third in this particular game, Jadon Sancho just didn't really deliver. He had some nice touches in the final third, however in the middle third he just lacked that bit of sharpness to kind of link the play, protect the ball and also take his man on. So this could have been a potential avenue for success, but it turned out that it wasn't. Another avenue for success was using Harry Maguire's long passes up to Weghorst. We saw this a few times, however at times the pass was overhit and ineffective going over the top, not what Weghorst wants to do. He's not going to run in behind and stretch the defence. And then other times they would get the ball in towards Weghorst's chest, and Weghorst really just wasn't very good in the first hour and put in a really frustrating performance. I think he's been a good loan move so far. However, in this game for the first 60 minutes, his performance was really subpar. Kind of what you want him in the team for is his ability to hold the ball up and then link the play. His hold-up play was awful, like just awful. And even his link play, he was overhitting passes or playing players the wrong pass, waiting till they're offside before playing it. Not a very good performance. The other area where Manchester United might have had some success was Maguire using long passes out to Marcus Rashford. However, Somerville done quite a good job of dropping in to help Ayling, creating this 2 versus 1 and stopping him from getting on the ball. And kind of as dull as that might seem from an analysis point of view, this was what we saw for the first 60 minutes. Manchester United getting into this area, this 3-2-4-1 shape, and just having no ability to progress the ball. And the quality on display in this game was so bad. For 60 minutes, this was a really bad football match. Fortunately, there were changes, which we will come on to, but the first 60 minutes, not good enough for Manchester United. Also, no quality from Leeds. Their intensity was good, their defensive approach was good, but on the ball, a real lack of quality. Manchester United were turning the ball over in these areas, where Leeds could then counter-attack, getting behind Malacia, because of course he's tucked inside. Perhaps Somerville breaking into this area, also Luke Ayling getting round on the overlap. But the quality on the ball, it was shocking. This was a really bad advert for the Premier League, because the quality on the ball in the final third from both teams was just not up to scratch. Nowhere near good enough. Harrison should have done a much better than what he'd done with the ball. Nonto was really quiet on the left-hand side, considering what he'd done in midweek. This was a really poor performance from him. Bamford just spent most of the match whining to the referee rather than playing football. And as a result, we had 60 minutes where the intensity was good, lots of battles, lots of individual duels all over the pitch. But in terms of quality on the ball, we really didn't see anything. Now, in seasons gone by, this would be one of those matches where Manchester United continue to show no quality throughout the 90 minutes and don't make any tactical changes and therefore either draw or lose the game, certainly drop points. However, this is not the Manchester United of the past few seasons, because this year they have this guy on screen here, Erik ten Hag, as the manager. A bit of a tactical genius. And what does a tactical genius do in these matches? He doesn't just let it play out the way it's going, he tries to impact the game. It's what good managers do, impact the game with subs. And I think he deserves a lot of credit, really, because he's managing to impact games with subs when the depth is not there at the moment. Manchester United, of course, we know they have injuries, suspensions all over the pitch, so the depth isn't really there for Ten Hag to make impact with. However, he's still finding a way to do it. What he done in this game was he brought Wan-Bissaka on at right back. We kept Maguire, at right centre back. Moved Shaw to left back. Malacia coming off, who I thought had a good game. Saw Lisandro Martinez come on at centre back. We saw Jadon Sancho come off for Garnacho, with Bruno Fernandes going to the right wing, Weghorst going into the 10 position, Marcus Rashford going up front, and Garnacho coming onto the left wing. So this is a bit of a makeshift 11 now. However, these changes, and also a slight change in shape, really turned the game in Manchester United's favour. So as we saw in the game in midweek, these Manchester United changes also coincided with a drop of intensity from Leeds. Leeds started to tire, fatigue, you can't keep up that energy for the full 90 minutes. So they started to drop off just a couple of yards. And unfortunately for Leeds, from a Leeds perspective, you can't really afford to do that against Manchester United, especially when the manager is also making good changes. And what Manchester United done now was moved to initially a bit more of a 2-4 shape. However, we will come back to that. We saw Lisandro Martinez, of course, now on at centre-back. And what this guy brings is a different level of ability on the ball, a different level of composure, the ability to turn, take touches, play under pressure, but also verticality, getting the ball moving forward through the lines, also completing long passes. Lisandro Martinez came on in this game and proved in half an hour that he really is probably the best ball-playing defender in Europe, certainly in the league. He is very good at getting moving the ball forward, and what this allowed United to do was take a bit more risk on the ball. And actually, particularly down this right-hand side, we saw them move to a bit more of a 2-3-5. And what this is doing is it's stretching the lead shape wider. Whereas before they were defending really narrow, you can now stretch their shape a little bit more. You can now outnumber them in these areas here. And like I said, one of the fullbacks can now push forward. And Manchester United can now build in what becomes a 2-3-5 shape. However, it becomes even more attacking than that in the later stages. However, Nonto has now got to track Wan-Bissaka a little bit deeper, which means Sabitzer can get the ball in this area. And Sabitzer is a player who I think is actually adjusting to life at Manchester United really well. I think he's been thrown into some games which do not suit him at all. He is not a 6, a deep-lying playmaker who wants to play in the most intense games in the world. Not really his game, so I think he's done a really good job. And it was him playing in this position which helped Manchester United. We then had the hold-up play of Weghorst in here, whereas before the game was quite intense, quite scrappy, everyone was losing the ball, and Weghorst was one of those players. Moving into this deeper position meant that he was now competing up against midfielders rather than centre-backs, with Rashford taking the centre-backs the other way. It gave Weghorst this little pocket of space, from where his link play and his hold-up suddenly was really good. He went from having a really bad opening hour to suddenly playing really good football, holding the ball up in these areas. And then what that allowed United to do is push more men forward, because Weghorst is holding the ball up, so now they can take more risks, push players forward, higher up the pitch, and make Manchester United more dangerous. And with Fernandes and Garnacho both coming narrow, it drags Firpo and Luke Ayling inside, but Leeds are still trying to play this sort of high press thing, which means now you're leaving spaces, particularly in wide areas, And that's exactly what we saw for one of the goals. Sabitzer gets the ball in this sort of area here after some good hold-up play from Weghorst. There's a couple of passes. Weghorst holds the play up. Bruno Fernandes is involved. Lays it back to Sabitzer, who plays a beautiful long pass to Luke Shaw, who is now able to push much higher than what he was earlier in the game. Of course, earlier he was a centre-back and Malacia was left-back, but even when Malacia was on, he was inverting into midfield. This was the first time we saw the left-back for Manchester United in this game getting forward around the outside. He gets into this area and then puts in a brilliant cross from Marcus Rashford, who is becoming a bit of a lethal striker with his noggin, with his headers. Really good finish from Marcus Rashford. And then the second goal, we saw the danger of Garnacho. And I'm not going to say too much on the Garnacho goal because Garnacho wants everyone to be quiet. And rightly so. We were talking about the criticism of him in midweek, how just stupid it was, how naive it was, how ignorant, how uneducated it was. And this is exactly why. This guy is so good, and people were hating on him after a bad 45 minutes. Just ludicrous. This guy is so talented, and he proved it again in this game. I do think moving forward for the rest of the season, his best impact is from the bench. However, Ten Hag hasn't always had that luxury recently, so when the squad is fully fit, you got everyone back, including players like Anthony. I think Garnacho can be a brilliant impact sub, bringing that fresh energy but also close ball control against a tiring defence is a really dangerous weapon. And it's exactly what we saw in this game. And again, Ten Hag deserves all the credit because it was his changes, his tactical changes, which won this game. Suddenly we saw the fullbacks pushing higher, which pins Leeds back a bit more. We saw Rashford making runs in behind the defence. Weghorst, his hold-up play was suddenly very good, and his link play was really good. Bruno Fernandes moving from right to inside was causing different problems for the Leeds defence. And then also the passing of Sabitzer and Lissandro Martinez in these deeper areas. They brought this extra verticality to the team, getting the ball forward through the lines, but also long passes as well. And like I said, that's what we saw for the goal, which kind of kick-started things for Manchester United. And then they went on to win the game. So Ten Hag deserves so much credit for the changes he made. Do I think he was right with his approach in the first hour? No. I think the shape was a bit too narrow, which kind of suited Leeds. However, a good manager recognises that he perhaps hasn't got it quite right and is willing to kind of swallow his pride, make the changes to impact the game. That is exactly what Ten Hag done. And Manchester United got a thoroughly deserved win, in my opinion. I think over the course of the 2 games, 4 points for Manchester United was about right. So yeah, at the end of the day, a good result for Manchester United, and now they move on to Barcelona, a preview which I'm literally going to go record now. So subscribe if you want that, make sure you've seen that video. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say though. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.